I wonder if you could comment on exchange rate movements. It seems to be a dimension of the current crisis that has been relevant for quite a few countries, but in Korea also we've seen some exchange rate movements responding to the foreign departure from the stock exchange. I wonder if you could just comment on the severity of that and how it might affect balance sheets around the world, not just Korea's case, but exchange movements, because that reminds us a lot of the Asian financial crisis mechanisms.
Okay, sure, yeah. As I said, actually, this G20 had originally started with 4 specific agendas written out. First, the analysis of causes, and then the analysis of the actions taken so far, and then the third was what kind of actions to be taken, and then fourth, the affirmation on the market principles and the open trade and investment and so forth. For there was one specific item on the agenda to review causes of the current financial turmoil. And if you read the communique, there is that part, but that addressed more on the inappropriate regulatory and supervisory regime, but it did mention some of the macroeconomic, the policy misalignments and so forth, but it never really specifically say that the global imbalance was the problem. There were some reasons why they tried to avoid that terminology. But in any case, if you go into the global imbalance issue, then you end up with exchange rate regime issue, the related area. And I personally strongly feel that Fred shares this point with me, I know too. That is that without you address this exchange rate regime issue area, I think the international financial architecture issue itself will be will lose really sight on this critical, the important area. So I can't remember who said it, but I think your independent, the task force team, I still remember somewhere someone saying that leaving out the exchange rate regime issue in discussing reforming international financial architecture is like playing Hamlet without the prince. I remember that. Yeah, so I think it's a very critical area. And so that's at the global level. So, John, I don't know where John Williamson is, and, whatever mechanism you introduce, there is one area. And then if you look at this current situation, Korea's currency depreciated almost 50% from January to today. Again, as I said, although we have very strong fiscal and financial positions and so forth, but so this, I think the global economy as a whole should deal with this really the volatility of exchange rates among particularly major currencies, and in reforming the financial architecture, I think it should be one of the important areas for study here.
You in the back? Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, this is Eric Watson from Inside U.S. Trade. I'm wondering if I can touch on another aspect of the bilateral agenda, the FTA. We've read reports that your government has said there'll be no renegotiation. I was wondering if you could clarify if that also applies to any side letters. President-elect Obama has talked about a need to address issues on autos, for example. If you could clarify that statement. And also, if you could update us on the progress in the National Assembly. I've read that your government is looking at addressing concerns by the DP. What are those concerns, and how will you address them? Is that just about trade adjustment assistance in Korea, or are there other things that you're looking at?
Okay, what I can tell you is that the administration and the government party is determined to have the bill passed at our National Assembly, and I don't know how to answer the first part of your question. You know, and I know, and the people here, experts, know that the auto deal was a good deal. And I don't know why you are talking about I really don't know. Of course, the situation is changed, but I don't know. But we are determined to go ahead with getting, our Congress, National Assembly, the ratification. And hopefully, I think, I'm sure that President Obama knows the importance of Korea-U.S. FTA, which is the largest after your NAFTA, and this economic significance is so great, so that hope that we'll get the ratification as early as possible for the U.S. economy, and for our mutual benefit, and I'm sure the good economic advisors. I don't know whether they who will be the Treasury or USTR the representative, but the names floating around seems to be very, very good and competent people, and they know the importance of this deal and the free market principles and so forth. So we're not very much worried about it.
But is it a hard position not to renegotiate the agreement? I just wanted to clarify because we've had media reports.
I don't see why we need renegotiation.
My name is Sam Jaffe, and I wanted to ask you about the comparison of the 1997 crisis to today's crisis. The numbers that you showed show a significantly different economy. Is that just a matter of Korea has better bookkeepers now, or has the economy of Korea fundamentally changed in the last 10 years, and with the numbers that you showed, we're seeing the results of that?
Well, in this age of transparency, even if you can do something with the bookkeepers, I think, well, there's been a sea change, I'll tell you. There has been a sea change, and that's just reflected in statistics, not the other way around. And actually, even in earlier days of Korean economic developments, one thing we had very strong was statistics. As a policymaker, I was a policymaker in the 80s, and I was a research economist in the 70s and 80s. Unless you have hard data, reliable, how can you make a judgment? So we know the importance of the statistics, and so we worked very hard on it, even very early stage of our development. And so that is one of the strengths of the Korea's particularly policy making, the foundational infrastructure.
Yes.
Hi, Daniel Wrenches from Channel News Asia in Washington. Given that the US car industry at the moment is very vulnerable and the relative strength of the Korean car industry, do you see the Korean car industry playing a greater role in the US car industry going forward?
Well, by the way, GM Korea is doing very well, Really. Actually, the best company they have all over the world. And the Korean company in the Alabama is doing very well too. So with the FTA, I suppose we can, Korean, the automakers will do even better job. And U.S. companies as well. If you invest more in Korea. And I talked with the GM president in Korea only about 10 days ago. They're very eager to invest more there. And so, once we have this FTA ratified, I think there will be even more and more opportunity for many industries, and including auto industry. Yeah.
Next.
My name is Ines Schlatter from the German Embassy. I'd like to come back to the G20 summit and to the Financial Stability Forum. You mentioned that you would like to see Korea in its extended version. Well, the language of the declaration says extended by key emerging economies. From your opinion, does that mean all G20 countries should be in it? Looking at, the FSF is a G7 format, plus I think 5 additional countries. So if you add all the other G20 countries, will be a rather big forum. Is that what you think we will end up with?
Yeah, I'm very sure that all the G20 members would like to be members, but I think that's another area. I think G20 finance ministers and the expert group have to work it out, and I'm sure all groups would like to be in it. Yeah. But they did say key members, right. So nothing is decided there as far as I know.
But do you have an opinion what key emerging markets could be?
I know one thing, Korea should be in it, but yeah. Well, what can I say? Other countries, I think, all wants to be part of it. But again, if you ask someone who thinks G20 is too many, then I think the answer is quite obvious. But well, that's another thing. And then the IMF governance area is a very muddy field, but we have to work out there as well.
But the emerging markets had a very strong position now in the G20 meeting. So do you think they can make use of it and really get through with that position?
Yeah, I think so. I think this, this is first real serious global leaders meeting where important emerging market countries are included. And I'm sure they're quite happy about it, and I think they would continue to have that forum strengthened and active.
I might just mention we've developed a criterion here at the Institute in our own work that might guide decisions like this. We've slightly enlarged on the notion of the BRICS. First of all, we spell BRIC with a K. So we think it's perfectly appropriate. Even if you're pro-BRICS, you have to spell BRIC correctly in order to. But our criterion is what we call the $1 trillion club. There are 6 emerging markets who have GDPs of $1 trillion or more. Okay. Brazil, Russia, India, China, Korea, and Mexico. Those are the 6. We think that's an objective criterion that suggests enough systemic importance to justify membership in whatever group it is, the FSF, going forward with the steering group coming out of the meetings over the weekend. We think that's a nice objective criterion. It seems to include the right countries for this stage. It opens the door for more to come in as they develop, and that's another alternative.
That's
yes.
Good.
Rahima Kulubali, the U.S. Federal Reserve. I'd like to thank you for the clear exposition on Korea's economy. I think it does indeed show that the economy is on a better footing today to weather the crisis than it was perhaps a decade or so ago. My question has to do with the vulnerability of the corporate sector, and in particular small and medium-sized enterprises. The sense is that they make up the bulk of the employment, but yet they have the smallest margins in terms of profit, and they're extremely leveraged, which makes them very vulnerable to like an economic downturn. So how do you assess the vulnerability to Korean economy from that angle going forward? And in particular, whether you think the recent government taken or forthcoming are going to help to alleviate those concerns?
Yeah. You know, as SME sector for Korean economy is very, very important. You know, about 88% of employment is generated by SMEs. Almost 99% of the number of firms are in the category of SMEs. So it is very important sector. And in the times like this, when you know economy goes through a very difficult adjustment period, I suppose the market itself will without some of the not the financially strong enough SMEs. But this government does have special attention paid to these SME sectors. Actually, our the stimulus package we had announced only a matter of a week ago included our the attention to SMEs. But that doesn't mean that we will help them all. We'll identify some of the viable and strong SMEs, and because of their short-term liquidity problem, despite their strong solvency position, then they will get assistance. But otherwise, of course, we have to go through the adjustment process. So banks themselves, I'm sure, will have what you call, pre-workout programs and so forth. So SME sectors will get special attention, but again, the assistance will be on very sound objective criteria.
Next.
Hello. I'm Youngi Kim Runo from the George Washington University. Hi. This was actually the best explanation for the kind of vicious circle of negative perception that I have gotten recently. And I'm just thinking, just as G-20 was going on, over the weekend, there was this incredible photo on the Wall Street Journal, the front page. I was wondering what kind of impact it had on the world leaders. In any case, this kind of picture is surprising on two accounts, that Korea still has that kind of scene going on. I don't know whether you have seen it yourself. It was
because of my flight time, I didn't see it actually.
Why don't you describe it?
Yeah, what was it?
It's a Wall Street Journal front page photo of Korean women being kind of lunched over by this security police. And it had to do with this banking so-called crisis. So one thing, that such a scene can still happen in Korea when we think it's a kind of, advanced economy. They act like actually very much unadvanced people. And then Wall Street felt sanctioned to run a photo like that. That there is something wrong. That must kind of be due to this old, world's favorite whipping boy, Korea, or something like that. They feel they could run a photo like that. And when you have that kind of photo, a lay person looking at it will actually see, oh, there must be a real problem in Korea. And then it just can snowball in a very, very really negative way. My question is there some kind of educational campaign that, people acting like that really doesn't solve any economic problems? And then on the external way, when a newspaper runs an article like that, can we just at least throw a question to the Wall Street Journal? They should at least know the fact before running an article like that. So, I mean, on two counts, it was shocking to me. So.
Yeah. I don't know which, I haven't, somehow I read the Wall Street Journal, Financial Times all the time, but somehow may happen during my travel. But we have the ambassador here, I'm sure that he knows it. But I don't know about that particular photo. But with regard to this kind of explanation, of course, I think we have to present the basics and fundamentals and strengths and weaknesses as well too. I think we have to be very transparent about revealing ours. Actually, that is the current government's position on reserves as well, trying to show the book to the foreign press, and so transparency is the key, and then explanation, of course. So I mean, gathering like this, and I'm going to have another opportunity in Wall Street and Council on Foreign Relations in New York, and so I will meet as many people as I could, and then I think many cabinet members, and just present the facts. And in Korea as well, actually the best place to do IR is in Korea. The government itself should be very, very open about this, opening its own book and then providing relevant statistics to foreign reporters, and otherwise they'll just write their own stories and scenarios. They would tend to. I don't want to offend any reporters here, but I mean, if they don't have a real contact with key people, they will be frustrated.
Okay,
So,
Thank you. Lex Riefau with the Brookings Institution. I have a two-part question about the G20 meeting. First, I read through the communique carefully, and I couldn't really find any passage that seemed to reflect the concerns or the participation of the emerging market countries. In other words, a paragraph or a sentence that was only there because the emerging markets were were part of the process. It came across to me as very much like a G7 finance ministers communique. I could see sort of where issues between the United States and Europe, for example, had been fought out. But if you could sort of point to one or two things in the communique that were there because countries like Korea wanted them there, or maybe some things that were not there because you didn't want them there, I would appreciate that. And then there were, of course, many countries who were not at the G20 meeting. And my question, who have sort of an interest and a stake in this, and I was wondering if there's been any discussion of a kind of constituency structure, so building a kind of constituency process into the G20. For example, I understand that Indonesia, when it attends the G20 meeting, feels as though it's the representative of the ASEAN members and sort of listens to their concerns before the meeting and then reports on the meeting afterwards. And I was wondering if there was any discussion of that, of building that kind of constituency element into the G20 process.
Okay, for your first part of your question regarding emerging economies, actually, if there was one consensus among the leaders, their particular attention given to emerging economies. When they talk about IMF, the resource augmentation, or the praising the short-term liquidity facility, all this, what they have in mind is emerging economies, not only those emerging economies in the group of G20, but actually more for the outside the group. Actually, and many emerging economy leaders particularly pay special attention to those countries not included in G20. And if you read carefully, there's the concerns and this the attention is there, and the G20 this is very informal group and no, unlike UN or any formal group. So, I suppose the who become the member, and it is a very very difficult process. And I do know that although President Sarkozy, at the UN, as I said, proposed a G13 and 14, but with meeting with President Bush, and he ended up with G20. And so, and some countries would like to be in it. By the way, even though it was G20, there was 2 other countries attended this time as well, which was Spain and Netherlands. And they were included in it. But it didn't call G22, but it's called G20. But they were not the observers. They had the chairs, but still it's G20. So I think, some countries will be unhappy. But as I said, some people think G20 is already too many. But so it is difficult. And I suppose if you're going all the way, just like United Nations, you have to include them all, then it won't be this real informal steering committee.
Final question.
My name is Philip Park. 사공일 박사님께 몇 마디 말씀을 드립니다. 지금 북한 탈북자에 의하면 1995년, 96년도와 같은 기아 상태가 북한에 임하고 있답니다. 그래서 지금 굶어 죽는 인민도 생기고 있다고 하는데 앞으로 북한 인민을 살릴 수 있는 경제 대책이 혹시 생각하는 것이 있다면 좀 말씀해 주시기 바랍니다. 저는 탈북자 선교사입니다.
I happen to sit next to Reverend Philip Bach. I'm Radio Free Asia reporter, by the way. And my name is Philip Bach. I'm a missionary for North Korean defectors. I fly from Seattle to listen to your seminars today. And my question is, I hear from many North Korean defectors that a famine might take place pretty soon. That took place back in 1995 and 1996. And as a leading economic advisor to President Myung-Bak Lee, and I want to listen to your views on what kind of measures are being worked out in MB Lee's administration to revive North Korean economy.
Okay, I will just tell you this, and that is that this current government, President Lee Myung-bak's government, has the initiative, what is called denuclearization, the openness and 3000. What that means is that if North Korea is ready to open up, in terms of introducing market economy and so forth, and ready to cooperate with us, and decide to give up on nuclear, the ambitions, then within 10 years' time, South Korea will help the North Korea so that North Korean per capita income will be raised to $3,000 level. Today it's below $500, I suppose. And so this we have very clearly stated position. And once North Korea meet the the openness and the denuclearization, principle, then I suppose we can work together, and South Korea can afford to have that kind of policies, and so we're hoping that there will be, North Korea will respond to this South Korean government's position.
Dr. SaKong, thank you very, very much for your clear enunciation, your leadership role. We wish you the best of success carrying both Korea's role and indeed the world's economic hopes forward. with the G20 and all your efforts. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.